Welcome to Clubhouse for the review of the Bandai high-grade Universal Century 1144 Guntank from way in the beginning of the modern HG line. I don't think the Guntank needs a lot of introduction. It's kinda derpy, it's kinda charming. It is the only white base MS that never got a revive update, and as a result, this is one of the oldest HGUC kits that gets reprinted the most. By my count, 3 reprints in 2021 with 1 more coming as of when I'm recording this video. Getting down to business, the Guntank was released in January 2000 and is sold for 864 yen. The box art is illustrated by Masanori Shino, as many of these early boxes are, and it comes in the old style small box measuring 25.5 by 19 by 5.5 centimeters. The short side of the box tells us that this is only the 7th release in the early days of the HGUC line. The other side is exactly the same, and everything else is from the front of the box. The long side is really sparse with just the front and back of the Guntank and then flavor text, with the other side having just 2 pictures as well as some text next to all the legal text, but we'll see later that this isn't all that strange. Inside the box, the Guntank is spread across 5 runners here. On top of them, there are these polycaps which I forgot to include in that layout just now, and these aren't actually anything unusual. The tank treads are a soft variation of the polystyrene and they're not polyethylene, i.e. not polycap material, so that's good news here if you want to glue and paint these. There are no stickers, so the only printed material is the instructions itself, with the backside used for a few more studio shots on top of the color guide. The inner pages have a surprising lot to say about the Guntank despite the box being so light on information. This redesign is among the many done by Kotoki Hajime, and like I say every time, it's a shame that these redesigned drawings went away in later kits. Here is a more detailed look at the redesigned drawings from Gundam weapons to give you an idea of just how much detail Kotoki added to this important revival of the MS which we often take for granted. Now, during the assembly, there were 2 things that stood out and they're kind of related. One is the red antenna on the head, which have these massive safety flags that just consume the entire contour on the top right here, and it actually requires you to re-sculpt that entire top surface yourself, which isn't something Bandai usually demands from modern kits. The second things are these gates on all of the wheels of the treads here, and how they overlap both the side and the sloped surface, which I know for a fact is not something they have to do for this mold, so this is entirely a design oversight. There are 4 of these gates per wheel which you have to restore to the shape of the wheel, and there are a lot of wheels and this gets old really quickly. Of course, you can absolutely just snip all of this off with a single cut from your cutter, but it will leave an ugly corner that's chiseled off if you don't take the time to reshape the plastic slowly instead. As a result, the build took something close to 2.5 hours when the construction itself was actually quite simple. As you can tell, the Guntank itself is not a complicated design, and one of the best things about this kit is how great of a Guntank this is. All the color is accurate and done in plastic, and the MS itself actually ages really nicely, because you can't actually really change the proportions of a Guntank all that much if you think about it. And I'm not kidding when I say this is a good Guntank. Take the vents on the back here for example. The iconic geometry is broken down into the smaller parts that fit over one another, which is a very Kotoki-esque thing and it's really great. But there's more. When we look in between the leaves of the vent, even the inner parts deep inside gets panel lines, which I don't know if anyone will ever see, but they love the Guntank enough to detail up even a part like this. The cockpit in the head is great as well. It's color separated in gray, which is amazing, and you get the suggestion of a person sitting here. Now, truth be told, I'd rather them have left the seat empty, because for a 1144 kit at the time in 2000, they only managed to put a really abstract suggestion of a person here, with that little fishbowl head not looking like anything on an actual pilot. I know it's nitpicking, but the molding really was a little bit too ambitious here for what they wanted to achieve, but still, I appreciate this. As for the seams, it will demand a bit of work from you. The head has a nasty one cutting across it in the middle here that's really visible. Then there is one running down the side of the torso with the collar on top really being affected by it. The top of the shoulders here also have a seam. The middle section of the arm is actually one single piece, so they did try to avoid seams when they could, but the elbow right below it has another split right down the middle. The great news here is that the tank base here passes with flying colors and the seams are not exactly hidden, but they are out of the way and they're not going to ever bother you. There is a bit of deformation on these parts here where the mold line is supposed to be, and we don't really see this much anymore on new kits. Overall, this would be a pass for a kit from 2000. And while we're here, this is what the bottom looks like, with 4 little nozzles that probably help position it if it really must fight in space. Otherwise, it looks very clean and very sensible, even on the surface that most people will never see. Unsurprisingly, the wheels here are all decorative and they don't actually spin. A minor gripe here is that the inner half of the wheels are actually a part of the blue plastic, which really spoils that nice color separation once you know it's here, but normally you really can't see much of it at all. That rectangular notch in the middle wheel here is for the tracks to slot in like this. And then you can pull the entire chain over and fit that slit in place, and that keeps the belt really nicely in place. The tracks stay in place and they don't jump off or anything, and the individual track pieces stay straight while the chain manages to wrap around the wheels. This is a key part of the Guntank and it's not going to be giving you any grief. The guns up top though do have something you do need to fix. The long barrel is split cleanly down the middle, which this is something we do expect, but towards the mouth, the barrel isn't able to hold itself together, which is quite common on older Bandai kits as we move closer towards the 90s. This part never closes up cleanly, so you will have to put some glue on it to correct that, or else it will be quite visible and it will always bother you. Otherwise, the smoothbore cannons are really long, as they should be, and by itself it's already as tall as the Guntank. The smooth barrel means that if all of this isn't enough, it is easy enough to extend it and add as much length as you like, if that's something that you feel insecure about, ha. The guns go from their fully dropped positions right here, all the way up to their highest angle right here, which is about as much as you're ever gonna need, and the range right here is actually fine. At its tallest like this, the Guntank measures just a hair over 18 centimeters, though it really does look kinda strange when the guns are pointed up like this, and I don't think you're gonna want to display it in this form. The missile launchers on the arms have that derpy Guntank charm, and the barrels here are nice and thick, and the entire arm itself can rotate like this, though it's not really a function, it's just a byproduct of how this thing is built, but you do get to appreciate how this whole part has no seams. But the arm gets even more extra love with the elbow joint here sliding out and keeping everything enclosed when you move it. The shoulder is made of 2 parts with the cowl on top staying in place while the shoulder itself moves beneath it. Katoki and the kit designers really put a lot of thought into how the arm should look as it moves, and this is strangely not a level of care you always get with these older HGUC kits. But in the case of the Guntank, it's great to see how much love it got. Otherwise, the Guntank here is one of those what you see is what you get MSs with no other handheld weapons, no accessories, and way back in 2000, no other hidden surprises. You know, like the Guntank early type from Gundam The Origin, which had those crazy swing out joints for the entire tank tread. This is actually really rare for Federation MSs, where every single weapon is built into the thing itself. A small consequence of this sort of kit is that you might go, oh, so that's it, when you're done admiring all the nice details. But then again, at just a bit over 800 yen, you're probably going to be perfectly happy with the Guntank here, because I know I am. For the articulation, the head can look up a bit, and it doesn't look down at all. It turns side to side, but it is limited by the hood on the collar for the guns. We saw the arm movement for a bit already, and they swing outwards a bit shy of 90 degrees. They can swing around a full circle without any problems. The elbow doesn't actually bend much because of the shape and the simple joint right here. It can rotate along the biceps for a full circle. The arms can rotate along its peg. The waist turns a little bit, but the shape of the armor keeps it from turning a full circle. And that's probably the shortest articulation segment in any of my reviews so far on this channel. That's it. The lower torso is actually completely static and nothing on there moves. Not that it'll shock you or anything. But the Guntank really doesn't do poses as much as you can kind of adjust where it points all its guns. It's not the fault of the kit, it's just how the Guntank is, so I don't think it's betraying any expectations here. But the objective word is, this thing really doesn't do much at all, so don't ask too much of it. Of course, we do have to see the full white-based team together here with the classic HGUC Gundam and the revived Guncannon, because I don't have the classic one and Bandai refuses to reprint it. If you've never seen them together like this, it'll probably surprise you how short the Guntank is, and yes, it's always been like this. The shape of the Guntank look as if it'd be gigantic, but actually it's quite petite and it's kinda cute like that. And let's swap in the Revive RX-78, and the greatest praise I can give the Guntank is, with this lineup against kits 15 years into the future, the Guntank actually looks absolutely fine, especially with the detailed tank bottom and all that coloring that still looks really good. The simple word is that this kit is perfectly adequate for a modern white-based team if this is what you're looking for. And here's an even younger teammate, the lower-end benchmark, the entry-grade RX-78. And here's the upper-end benchmark, the high-grade new Gundam. Not that it'd be any different, but the Guntank pairs really nicely with the EG Gundam as well, and it's also short and really cute. The crazy long guns bring it way past the new Gundam, and yes, I did flip the guns up to the highest point just so our boy Guntank can't be the tallest one in the shot here. With all that said, here's a Hobby Clubhouse 3-point verdict on the Bandai high-grade Universal Sentry 1144 Guntank. Number 1, it's a great kit because of happenstance. We just talked about how this Guntank kit is perfectly okay for a modern fan to buy, but that's not to say this kit is some amazing hidden gem that's years ahead of its peers. No, the Guntank is absolutely a kit from the 2000s, even though it's one of the best kits Bandai could make in the 2000s. This is a great Guntank, more so because the Guntank happened to not need crazy articulation or a lot of modern engineering to capture how it moves. Technology from 2 decades ago was already enough to cover all of it. Coupled with the color separation and that simple, sturdy construction, the Guntank happens to come through really well despite its age. And number 2, it's easy to buy. It's kinda sad that this is a good point at the time of this video, but it is true that a Gundam model you can actually reasonably find is a rare and wonderful thing. Bandai really likes to reprint this kit, and chances are there are only so many people out there who wants Guntanks, so you can probably get one if you're really looking around enough. It's also an easy purchase because of the price. At just over 800 yen, it sits with the very cheapest HGUC kits you can find, so this is not a tough impulse buy. And number 3, it's a Guntank. A great Guntank is still a Guntank, and an endearing way to describe it is that it's really charming, but there are just as many people who will find this MS pretty stupid and ridiculous. Don't take my word for it, Tomino isn't exactly a fan of the MS himself, and maybe you've noticed how rarely you ever saw it in the compilation movies. It never got a real tight release back in the day, because you can't make this thing look realistic even if you tweak the colors. So the poor Guntank isn't exactly a Gundam MVP. You'll want it because it's a Guntank, and on the flip side, you'll absolutely not want it because it's a Guntank, great kit or not. So that's a review of the HGUC Guntank, a kit that does everything it sets out to do really well, and an iconic kit deserving of a spot on a modern display if you love how goofy it is. Thank you so much for watching. Come look us up on social media with updates on upcoming videos and sneak peeks at future projects, links are in the description below. Or hang out here some more with one of these other videos. But before you go, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to be notified of new videos from Hobby Clubhouse, and I'll see you next time.